Cars are expensive. The payments, the insurance, the gas, the repairs, and the registration. But what gets missed is how expensive not having a car can be, because in many places, reliable transportation is not a luxury for everyone. So when people say, oh, just take the bus or take an Uber, they usually skip over the part where those options cost time, money, and control. This connects back to the bigger conversation that I've had on this channel in a few of the videos, and it's really about the cost of instability. Because when people talk about poverty or being broke, they usually focus on the obvious things like rent, food, bills, and debt. But fees associated with transportation are one of those quiet expenses that people kind of overlook. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, transportation was the second largest household expense in 2024 after housing. Households spend an average of $13,318 per year, or roughly $1,110 per month. That's a lot on transportation. Housing and transportation together made up more than half of an average household spending. So when people say just take the bus, get a cheaper car, yeah, that sounds simple, but it's really not practical for some individuals. They must rely on public transportation.
What if I said car-dependent infrastructure is actively suppressing the middle class? Because in the suburbs, on top of rent, on top of food, you have these expenses, like it or not. I sold my car 2 years ago. My fiance and I share a car, and my commute cost me $5 a day. Now, there are many reasons why I live in Philadelphia, but that is a really big one. And don't get me wrong, I love cars. I love these things. If anyone's selling one of these, I will probably buy one. First gen Tacoma. I'm not saying to, take away everyone's car and live in a communist society, but it's just un-American that we don't have the choice. That's all I'm saying.
And a car is not just a car. It represents so many different things. A car can give you access to a better job, a cheaper grocery store, or if you're in a food desert, it gets you to actually a grocery store and not just a corner store. It gets you to probably quality health care, child care that's reasonable for you, and so much more. And I can recall when I was at college, I did not have a car for the first portion of it for about a year. And I remember I had to rely on my parents. And it actually led to me being depressed, part of it, because I did not have the freedom to get up and go somewhere else. I just saw other people, have that freedom. And yes, like a car payment can be expensive because not everyone can just lay out money for a cash car, but not having a car can limit so many things and how you can live your life. Uber and Lyft can be helpful in an emergency, but they are not cheap enough to be a real transportation plan for most working people. If you're taking a rideshare to work because your car broke down, that can eat through your paycheck fast, especially if you are in a highly populated area or just a popular area. Doing that a few times a week and you look up and basically your money is gone. So now you're working to pay off a debt for transportation. And this can become a loop that can be difficult to get out of. Public transportation can be a good thing if it's safe. I've taken the bus and train in the past, but not consistently. The problem is that in many places, public transportation is underfunded, inconsistent, or not designed around the way that people actually live.
Remain high, more Americans are flocking to public transportation and less conventional ways to get from point A to B. CBS News Miami's Tim McNicholas explains the lengths people living in the country's busiest cities are taking to cut costs.
Transportation hubs like Union Station in Washington, D.C. are even busier than usual lately. The railroad giant Amtrak reports a 5% increase in passengers in March compared to a year ago.
Instead of getting a rental car and driving to D.C., I decided to take the train. It was a lot easier to take the train and save a few bucks.
Gas prices are up more than 50% since the war with Iran began, as driving Americans out of their cars and on to public transit.
I filled my tank up last week. It was $55 to fill it up. That's the first time I've ever spent that much on my vehicle.
In a lot of the big cities in this country, the ridership of public transportation went way down after COVID. It's going to start ticking up. People are going to be frustrated. They're not going to want to drive as much.
And it's not just trains. The e-scooter and bike company Vio says it surveyed its riders in late March. 68% of respondents said they're replacing some car rides with e-scooters and bikes due to recent gas prices. Trailways, the largest network of bus companies in North America, also saw a 5% increase in March compared to last year.
And then we see April also up 9%. That's when we know it's not just natural growth. This is from the gas prices.
Trailways.com president Alex Berardi says long-distance travelers are also steering toward buses, with jet fuel prices pushing skyward and airfares up 15%.
People were booking last second a little bit more, and we think that could be around the uncertainty in the travel market. People are looking and they're shocked by the prices, and they're trying to figure out, how am I going to get there?
Tim McNicholas.
Public transportation can be a good thing if it's safe. I've taken the bus and train in the past, but not very consistently. The problem is that in many places, public transportation is underfunded, inconsistent, or not designed around the way that people actually live. Most places are unwalkable too, which has been a topic that I've seen in the recent years online. Depending on where you are going and where you live, it can take over an hour to get where you started to your destination or destinations and back home, whereas it would take about 15 minutes by car depending on where you're going. And if you have kids, groceries, a disability, safety concerns, or multiple errands in different places, it makes it even harder. So you're looking at definitely past 2 hours of getting back home. So when people say just take public transportation, they're probably imagining a city or like a setup where that would be feasible and reliable, but it's really not. I've also heard of people going to the different bus stops and like the bus driver could be taking a break, which leaves them to have to wait 30 minutes, which, of course, those individuals, they do need to take a break, but it's a pretty inconvenient thing when you're trying to get to a destination. And most of us have not seen this version of America where we can rely on public transportation, even though we're paying taxes for it.
Why don't Americans walk anywhere? I don't know. Maybe it's because there's no fucking sidewalk.
Today I had the displeasure of being a pedestrian in the American Midwest who wanted to walk from the mall to Target a measly 1,700 feet or about 10 minutes. That was all but impossible on foot, because along this entire 1,700 foot long walk, there is only 300 feet of sidewalk. In fact, crossing the busiest street in town, a literal highway, doesn't even have a crosswalk. Just a little lighten button telling you that you can legally risk your life trying to cross this road right now. But also, if you're handicapped, good luck reaching those buttons. And in true American fashion, once you see your destination, you still have to trudge through an almost comically large moat of parking, which at night isn't horrible, but if you're doing this in the middle of the day with absolutely no shade, it would be awful. But again, though, this isn't even a long walk. You can still see the mall I came from the parking lot. Nobody does this walk, though, because there are no accommodations for people who want to walk to do so. Although in middle school, me and my friends had to do this walk because none of our parents were willing to go all the way out here to drive us 3 minutes. But Americans will still wonder why traffic continues to get worse and worse and worse, and it's because there's no other option. If the pedestrian experience is miserable, even if it's just a 10-minute walk, nobody is gonna walk. And every one of those people who were forced to drive is another car that's clogging up our already congested streets. Americans don't not walk because we're fat and lazy. We don't walk because the country auto lobbyists have built for us won't let us.
Car trouble can quickly become a financial crisis too. AAA estimated that the average cost to own and operate a new vehicle in 2025 was over $11,000 a year, or about $965 a month. That includes things like depreciation, gas, insurance, registration, so like your standard stuff that happens with cars, repairs. And I know not everyone is driving a new car, nor the same make and model, but even with an older car, you still have repairs, insurance, gas, so the same stuff that could happen with a newer car, probably less expensive, it still happens. So now you're stuck choosing between a newer car that you can barely afford, an older car that might break down, no car at all, or rideshare that drains your money. None of those choices are pretty good in the long run. Transportation is not just about getting from one place to another. There's a sense of power in having reliable transportation. It allows you to pursue a job opportunity that you might feel is better than your current one. You get to make that medical or psychiatric appointment that you've been holding off on. And you also increase the chances of getting home safely. I tend to see people making assumptions and judgments about people in these situations, and they just tell them, oh, you just save and work harder. And it would be naive for me to say that no one makes bad financial decisions. We all do, including me. But not every situation is from just one bad financial decision. Do people underestimate how expensive it is to not have reliable transportation? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, you'll probably enjoy the one popping up on the screen now. See you in the next one.